Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Mason White, and today I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Koch's postulates and the applications they have for our lives today. Let's get started. So what are Koch's postulates? Koch's postulates are 4 criteria that Robert Koch established to connect a microorganism to a disease. So this allows us to identify microorganisms and say, okay, if they can pass these 4 criteria, then they are the causative agent for this disease. Now we'll learn a little bit later about how we've updated and adjusted that for today's time, but this is more of an understanding of our initial thoughts when we started connecting bacteria and microorganisms to diseases. So the first postulate is that the microorganism must be found in diseased but not healthy individuals. So there are a few ways that a pathogen may not meet this. One would be if a pathogen colonizes some organisms but doesn't always cause disease. So this would be if an individual could be a carrier. That would be an example of a way that postulate number 1 isn't met. Another way would be if some microbes are a risk factor for a disease, but they aren't the direct cause. There are a few examples that we see of that, but those are 2 ways that we've seen that two ways that an organism may not cause a disease and therefore would fail postulate number 1. Postulate number 2 is the microorganism must be cultured from the diseased individual. So some ways this postulate couldn't be met would be that some pathogens just cannot be cultured in vitro. So while a microorganism may cause a disease, there are some scenarios in which they can't be cultured, so it wouldn't be able to pass this postulate. It gives us some opportunity to maybe revise this and see what else we can do to determine causative relationships. In addition, bacterial shift diseases cannot be identified with this postulate because they are results of microbial shifts in an organism. Postulate number 3 is that the inoculation of a healthy individual with the cultured microorganism must be recapitulated in the disease. So this can often be one of the most challenging postulates for us to satisfy because there are so many ethical concerns using human models for disease, and accurate animal models may be hard to obtain. So in order to inoculate a healthy individual, we would have to find an individual, whether that be a human or an animal with an advanced body system. It can be challenging to find those models. So many researchers will struggle to meet this postulate. Postulate number 4 says that the microorganism must be re-isolated from the inoculated diseased individual and matched to the original organism. So this postulate is typically met when postulates 1 through 3 have been met, and it will demonstrate that another organism, when infected with the test microbe, will present the disease in question. So it kind of just wraps up the whole process. And once postulate 4 is met and 1 through 3 have been met as well, we can determine that a microbe does cause a disease under the rules of Koch's postulates. Now, there has been some debate over whether or not we should add a 5th postulate. Many microbiologists think that it would be beneficial to add ways that we can treat or prevent a disease into Koch's postulates. In addition, the way we cure and prevent disease can provide convincing evidence of their connection to a microbe. For example, if a microorganism responds to a particular treatment, that could be another way to prove that that microorganism causes the disease. So Koch's postulates today. In terms of adaptation and revision, modern medicine recognizes that one organism can cause more than one disease and that the pathogenesis is much more complex than what we learned from Koch's postulates. This being said, these postulates are still relevant to us today. Many diseases are still diagnosed based on culture samples taken from patients, and Koch's postulates have a foundation of rigor in clinical microbiology. So while we may not take these postulates as hard and fast today as they were when Koch originally created them, they still create a foundation for rigor in the field of microbiology and requiring scientists to really thoroughly test the things that they are doing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've got some references here below for you guys to check out if you want to learn some more, but thank you so much.